early last week. This event involved an attack on the Tesla Collision and Sales Center on Tuesday, March 18th at approximately 02:45. The suspect used a firearm and Molotov cocktails to damage the center and destroy multiple vehicles that were parked on site. You'll see to my left some of that video that was taken from that night. On the screen next to me is also what I want to highlight to each one of you is the very little information that my investigators and FBI agents had to work with from the initial aspect of this investigation. There's a couple social media photos that that have been circulated out there already. The suspect's name is Paul Kim, K-I-M. He's an Asian male adult, and he is 36 years of age.
So we'll begin with just talking about how the suspect arrived. He arrived east of the location in a vehicle, showed up in a black sedan just parked east of the Tesla Collision Center. You can see on this video clip here, we highlighted the area because it's at the top of your screen, and you'll be able to see the arrival of the vehicle. You'll be able to see that the vehicle comes in, originally driving westbound where you can see the headlights, and then turns around where you can see the taillights, and he reverses back into where he parks. The suspect then proceeds on foot and approaches the corner of the building. As you've seen before and as you've probably heard, and certainly as we're showing today, he attempted to mask his identity by wearing black attire, concealing his face, and wearing gloves. The suspect then began shooting the surveillance cameras with what appeared to be a rifle. You can see an image here of the suspect pointing the rifle towards a camera. At least 2 surveillance cameras were damaged by gunfire. And then upon shooting the cameras, the suspect proceeded to the front doors of the Tesla, and he began spray painting the words "resist" across the doors. I'll let this video play because you'll get a better shot of the suspect. You can see his description as he goes across the clear doors there, committing his act of crime. Once he finishes spray painting the words "resist" on the doors, he then approaches multiple Tesla vehicles that were parked in the front of the center. He proceeded to shoot into each vehicle and used a Molotov cocktail to set the vehicles on fire. We'll play a few video clips here to kind of show you his behavior. You can see him right there in the dark clothing. He casually walks over to his first vehicle that's targeted. He will soon put down his backpack onto the ground. And then he transitions to the firearm. And you'll see him shoot into the vehicle. Once he shoots into the vehicle, he ends up going back from the vehicle to the bag and then back to the car, presumably picking up his item that he used to be able to firebomb the vehicle. We believe that was a Molotov cocktail. And you'll see in a moment here, the vehicle will ignite and ultimately fully engulf, causing severe damage. The suspect then continues on to a second vehicle, and you can see here he's on to the second target. He'll do very similar behavior where he shoots into the vehicle, he goes into the backpack, retrieves an item, and ultimately you'll notice here that he ends up getting the second vehicle on fire as well. From there, he then proceeds to his third vehicle, repeats the same type of activity. One of the incendiary devices he was not able to ignite, which is one of the devices that we were able to recover. But ultimately, 5 vehicles were damaged, to include 3 of which were fully destroyed. You can see images of the vehicles here. And then you'll see here a drone video. This is from our Skydio drone, being able to provide an overview of the damage as well. After this, the suspect then proceeds and flees east, gets in his vehicle, and leaves the area. As I mentioned earlier, this case has been worked around the clock, and Sheriff McMahill and Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans have made it a top priority for our organization and put a tremendous amount of workforce behind it to make sure that this was dealt with in a quick manner. Because of that, in 8 days around the clock with our teams, we were able to identify the suspect's vehicle as a black Hyundai Elantra. You'll see a photo here. But what's important to point out here is that this was achieved through an exhaustive review of surveillance material, analytical data, and a canvas of over 700 locations across the valley, ultimately allowing us to piece together critical evidence with speed and precision. But a preliminary assessment of the suspect's social media activity indicates some very loose but self-proclaimed ties to the Communist Party USA social media group, as well as social media groups called Revolutionary Communist International, Hidden Palestine, Palestine Action, and a variety of other social media groups. Additional evidence was collected as we continued our investigation, and the suspect was ultimately arrested yesterday evening. Our searches revealed numerous items of interest to include multiple rifles, a shotgun, a handgun, and miscellaneous gun parts. You can see a photo to my left of some of the items that were recovered. We also were able to recover ammunition in multiple calibers to include the caliber that was used in the crime. We also recovered numerous electronic devices, which our partners at the FBI are quickly analyzing. We also recovered a black gun belt with a pouch that had pink paint residue on it. You can see a photo of that to my left, as well as a black backpack with pink paint, face masks, and other articles of clothing that are consistent with the suspect's description. We also recovered other key pieces of evidence that we're still evaluating at this time that do connect the suspect to this attack.